Hi, everybody.
Hi, welcome to another episode of Tribulation Ready Survival. I'm Michael.
I'm Donna. We wanted to talk to you today, real quick, about all the preps in the world aren't going to make any difference at all if you are not spiritually prepped. In Ephesians 6, verse 12, we're told, "For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against rulers of darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in heavenly places." And then we're told to put on the full armor of God. So I just wanted to just do a quick word here on some things that you can do to prepare yourself spiritually. The first thing you need to do is you need to clean up your temple. This means any addictions you have. I have a problem with stress eating or gluttony. So I'm fasting, doing longer and longer fasts to get my body out of that cycle. So whatever you're doing to your temple that you know is not okay, change that. Exercise, eat right, go to sleep on time. Stop smoking, stop chewing tobacco, stop being on Facebook all day, gaming, gambling, any of those things that you are feeling convicted of. That's the first thing. Clean up your temple.
I've had to do the same thing. I constantly have this thing where I want to check the news all the time because of what's going on these days. And pretty good idea. We went through a full 24-hour period where we put all media away. It was a great idea.
The second thing is to clean up your physical house. How you're going to do that is you're going to get rid of any accursed objects. Mike and I had a situation where Mike had been deployed in Africa at one time, and he brought home this little statue, and it looked like parents and 3 kids. And he got it for our family. But it was actually an idol. There was a demon attached to it that we all saw. And so we had to break it and destroy it and throw it out. Another time, the Holy Spirit sent me into my daughter's room and told me to open a certain drawer. And I opened the drawer, and on top was this t-shirt that a friend of ours had bought our daughter. And it had Egyptian hieroglyphs all over it. And this friend was a practicing witch. God told me to get rid of it. So I got rid of it. So go around your house. Pray. Let the Holy Spirit lead you. There are things in your house that may be accursed objects that you have no idea that a curse is attached to. Things that have dragons need to go. Things like dream catchers need to go. You need to pray over your movies, what music you're listening to. Even if it's technically Christian, doesn't mean that it's not accursed.
Well, I agree with that. I pretty much listen to any type of music that's out there, and I have been recently, as recent as yesterday, or the day before yesterday actually, I was listening to a particular band and did some research because I was like, this just doesn't sound like something that a God-fearing person would be saying or singing about, because it's just, and I had found that in their earlier days they were considered a Christian band, and then at one point they decided that they weren't, and so I changed, took them off my playlist. And sometimes you just gotta clean house.
Along with that kind of cleaning of house is demonic. If people say a house is haunted, a ghost is a demon. It needs to be cast out, or you need to leave. You may bring something in that had a demon with it. You need to get rid of it. So go through your house. Let the Holy Spirit tell you. We literally go room to room. We pray over each room. If the Holy Spirit says get rid of something, we've gotten rid of it. If He's told us to cast out something, we've cast it out.
We have literally thrown out hundreds and hundreds of dollars worth of books and DVDs and just things, trinkets from the house that we were like, hey, this is pretty cool. Let's decorate with that. And then it wasn't right. So our trash man loves us.
Stars, we've learned angels are stars. So there's stars we've thrown out. Not all of them. There are a lot though. And just beware. Let the Holy Spirit tell you what to get rid of.
Right. We're not telling you what to throw away. You've got to make that decision for yourself, and what's right for me isn't necessarily what's right for you. It's all your choice.
Another thing that you need to do is secure your property boundaries. So what you can do is literally go walk your property line and pray over it. Pray that the enemy is not allowed on your property. If there is any demonic beings or fallen angels that they're cast out, they're taken off your property. We have done this as well. One day after we did this, I pulled up into our driveway and I saw a demon pacing the property line. So you can secure your property line. And I'm going to tell you, people coming over, there's going to be all sorts of things. Your sin, bringing new things in, all sorts of things could bring some of these things back. So you need to make sure of what you're bringing in your home and who you're allowing in your home.
Okay, so we're going to go here. So the next one is going to be daily Bible study. I'm guilty of not doing Bible study for many, many years. I would pick up my Bible every now and again, or when something was just bothering me, I'd pick up my Bible and read. And I had a busy life for most of my life, and I didn't make Bible reading a priority. Now that my life has slowed down a little bit, I make it a priority. I get up just about every morning and read portions of the Bible. I pray, and I'm going to tell you, I can tell the difference in the mornings that I just decide, I'm going to do something else first, or I'll push that off till later in the day. There's a big difference. It's kind of like, if you want to think about it, one of the first things I would do in the morning is get a cup of coffee. And if you're going to get a cup of coffee while you're reading it, read your Bible. Seriously, it's easier than it sounds, and it's easier than you think.
If you have a commute to work and you feel like you don't have time to read it, you can listen to it on the way there and on the way home. So, also daily prayer time. Mike just talked about that. Especially with everything that's going on and everything that's coming, you need to be able to discern God's voice. If you are not able to discern God's voice, you need to be spending a lot of time with Him. That means when you go to pray, you don't just talk. If you have a friend that they just talk to you and you never get to say a word, it starts getting really frustrating sometimes. Let God talk to you. Let Him convict you. Let Him show you what He wants from you. Let Him tell you things that are coming. Sit and listen to Him and let Him talk too.
And another thing is daily worship and daily praise. We do it as a family regularly because we do a family Bible study too. But there's other options other than that. If you're doing a daily commute, hey, throw on your favorite Christian music CD and do a karaoke king. You can do all kinds of ways to praise and worship, or you can even pray with your eyes open while you're driving to work. There's ways to communicate with God, and if you communicate with Him, He's going to communicate with you.
So that's just a quick little spiritual preparedness. We may go into depth on some of that later, but just a quick little, that's the first prep you need to have done. If your spiritual life is not cleaned up, clean up your spiritual life right now.
And to go along with that, there's a couple things that I'm going to discuss here rather quickly, and this is not scripted. We're real people, real information here. I wanted to put out that I forgot what I was going to say. We can edit this out. What was I saying?
I don't know.
What did you finish with?
Worship. And that you need to, if that you're not prepped there, you need to prep there.
Oh, okay. So, to be spiritually prepped is a great thing. It is probably the most important thing. But the next important thing is to be mentally prepped. Okay? I'm going to be the first to tell you I'm not a survival expert. I have been in survival situations. And if you're not ready to be in a survival situation, it's going to be total and utter chaos, and you're probably not going to do what you need to do to save yourself or someone else. And so thinking ahead about what is going to happen, what could happen, having at least some sort of plan in place in your head.
Not worrying, not being fearful.
Right. This isn't sitting there stewing over, what am I going to do? What's going to happen? This is, hey, if something happens, what am I going to do? What's an idea? To just have something to fall back on, because if you don't have something to fall back on, you're going to fall back on your bottom. So, you got to be mentally ready. And we'll talk about that in another episode. I'm going to call that the warrior minds, or warrior thought process, whatever we want to call it. But that's something that you should look forward to. It's going to be a great episode. I already have ideas for it. And so we're going to cut, and then we're going to come back and talk to you all about preparations for your fleeing, for leaving. It's going to be a bug out bag video, if you will. Okay?
Have a good day.
We'll pause it here, and then we'll come back to the bug out bags. And welcome back to another part of the episode of Bug Out Bags here at Tribulation Ready Survival. And so this portion of the video is, we're going to call these bug out bags, but that's just a general term for a backpack or something that you're going to carry your stuff in. Some people call them bug out bags, some people call them SLBs. And the reason I say SLBs is because if you got to get out of here and you got to take what you got with you, it's going to suck. It's not going to be easy. It's going to suck. But with what you can put in a bag, pockets, whatever you do to take with you, it's going to suck less. Whatever you bring with you is going to make it suck less. So that's why I call it an SLB. We'll use those terms interchangeably. So here's the deal. When you put together a bug out bag, kind of determined by what you're going to carry, how far you're going to carry it, you know, what type of year or time of the year you're leaving. If it's winter, you may want a big bag with, you know, all kinds of storage for cold weather gear or wet weather gear, whatever. But anything can be used as a bug out piece of equipment. Could be a toolbox, could be we're not a sponsor, could be a reusable grocery bag. I mean, these things are pretty durable. You can carry, you know, 20, 30, 50 pounds in one of these things. But you got to think about the handles. That's going to be the part where it's weakest. And do you really want to, if you have to leave your house right now and walk 2 hours to wherever you're going because you can't get in your car, are you going to want to carry something like this? Maybe. I don't think I would. But there's other options. You have to find one that works for you. Here's one that my wife figured out.
We have nothing else. This one I actually use when I go to the library. Being a homeschool family, we check out a lot of books. It's sturdy, it's cloth, it's, again, what Mike said though, it's going to wear out pretty easy, but at least it's something. If this is all you have, it's something. Find the sturdiest bag you have. Diaper bag, huge purse. Some of us women have humongous purses, especially when my girls were little. I used to carry a purse that was probably this big and had a change of clothes for me in there, a change of clothes for them in there, because you never knew.
And a bag like this is a really nice bag, by the way. This one is very durable. It carries probably 15, 20 library books at a time. We know because we've done it. But it's got bigger handles than this bag. Okay? This bag you have to carry in your hand. This one you could actually put over your shoulder and you can switch it over or whatever if you have to carry it for a longer period of time. But it's not waterproof or anything like that. But it's better than this one. This is an upgrade from like a trash bag or a Ziploc bag, not a sponsor.
Grocery store bag.
But again, it's an upgrade. It's a little bit better. You want to hand me the other two options we have here? It could be anything. You could even go with like a camping backpack. But these other items here I'm going to show you, they're a little bit better. Actually, they're a lot better. Our budget here is smaller than a shoestring. Our budget is $0 here. So all this stuff is stuff that I have picked up over the years.
Things we just gathered around the house.
Gathered from around the house. I'll show you here in just a second. This bag was given to me when I was on my last deployment. This is about a $150 bag. It's made by a famous company. It's got all the storage and places to hang things. Again, if I load this thing up with food and clothes and water, and it's going to get really heavy. But it's got all the storage. It's got places to put just about everything you'd want to carry. It also has, in this bag, it also has a half-gallon water bladder. So I could put water in here and carry it on my back along with everything else, and it doesn't take up much more room. But again, you know, if I had to pay for this myself, $150? No, I couldn't do it myself. But like I said, it's got room enough. I used to carry a machete in here with me at one point. It's got room for everything. Okay, it's even got storage in the back here where it'll expand out. So again, this is an option. Probably not the option for everybody. This one here, this one was a secondhand store find. I went to the secondhand store we had in town, and this was actually on the inside of this is some person's name. This was actually somebody's backpack for school, and it has little zippers. It has all kinds of things. But the one thing that I really didn't like about it, it's actually pretty good. Again, with this company, not a sponsor, but great bag, durable bag. It's probably at least 10 years old. It even comes with a couple of things that most bags don't. This one comes with, and I don't like that it's yellow, but it comes with a cover to put over the backpack when it's raining. And again, this fits in here, but it's such a large pocket. You've got lots and lots of storage. I can put my whole hand in here still. So more places to carry more stuff. But I will tell you, okay, more places to carry more stuff. More stuff is more weight. More weight is going to be heavy. The longer you carry it, say I put 35 pounds in this, if I walk for 2, 3, 4 miles, it's going to feel like 100 pounds at some point. It's going to get heavy. Some of the stuff you put in your bag, when you're going down the road or down the trail, down the whatever, you're probably going to be like, I don't need that anymore. and chuck it because it's really heavy. And who knows what item that could be, but that's what's going to happen. I've seen it done when we were in the military. I was in the military for a long time. We had guys that would put things in their backpacks or rucksacks and chuck it because, man, I'm not, that's too heavy. Gone. Speaking of military, that kind of transitions us into, one thing about this backpack that I didn't like, the one part I really didn't like, is that it has a reflective material on it. Okay? I don't want, if I'm trying to flee for my life, I don't want to be the guy who's glowing in the dark.
With the yellow too.
So, with the yellow thing. But again, this was a bug out bag for us. We started with this because it was what we had at the time. It was like $3 or something. It was cheap. Your secondhand stores are a treasure trove of places or a place to get stuff that you could use. But we don't use this one anymore. We do other things with it, and we can maybe discuss that on another episode. But so this is another idea. What you're looking for in a bug out bag is not what I'm looking for and not what she's looking for. Okay? Again, how are you going to carry it? You need to do a couple things. Okay? First of all, if you're going to carry it for a long distance, it has to have a waist strap that comes around that helps support the backpack so it's not banging you in your lower back, and it also rides a little bit better and is more comfortable and actually helps to strap that load on your back. So those are types of things that I would want in a backpack. Maybe an internal frame or an external frame, something that holds that gear for you and takes a little bit of that load off your back. Now, I told you I was in the military at one point. Here's what I would not recommend. I would not recommend going to your local Army surplus store and picking up whatever the latest bag is with the camo, with the OD green, with all that stuff. Here's why. Okay? Those people are definitely going to stick out. Well, when you're fleeing for your life and someone sees somebody wearing military gear, they're going to look at you a little bit different than they are going to look at some dude wearing one of these backpacks or carrying a grocery bag. You see what I'm saying? You don't necessarily want to be that guy. Okay? So, those are the bags themselves. So,
I want to add something
yes.
in here. Something that, as women, mamas, we're going to think about. Your backpack needs to, especially if you've got a baby or a toddler, maybe even a preschooler, you're not going to want so much weight on your back that you can't be carrying your baby as well. So you need to think about that. Is it something that you can carry your baby and your backpack? Can you do both? So don't overload thinking, I need all this stuff, and then not able to do it because you're not going to leave your baby. You're going to take your baby. Your bag might get left behind.
So, at this point, I want to let you know, we want you to like, we want you to subscribe, and down here below, there are lots of spaces for comments. Comment and tell us what you think you could use for a bug out bag. We have gone over lots of options. There's so many options. It's limitless. I even thought about maybe a 5-gallon bucket. 5-gallon bucket's pretty durable. It's got a handle on it. I don't know if I want to carry it for very long, but hey, it would work, right? So, here's what we're going to do at this point. We're going to challenge you. We did it. We're going to have you do it. We're going to show you what we did. So here it is. 5-minute challenge. Take 5 minutes. Go around your house, find a bag, and find a few things, or as many things, however you want to do it. Find as many things that you think you could go, if you had to walk out the door right now, that you could use to make it suck less. My wife did it, and I did it just before this the taping of this video, and she's going to show you what she did. She found around the house. It's going to fit in one of these bags, but she's going to show you what she found for what she thinks she's going to need.
Okay, first thing is my Bible. I do not want to go without my Bible anywhere. So if you have an extra Bible in your house, Bible, number one. If you don't, Dollar Tree has them for $1.
Not a sponsor.
So, yeah, not a sponsor. You can buy a Bible just for your bug out bag. Another thing, the Book of Enoch. This book was at one time in Scripture, and I read it several times, and I think that this book is so important for us right now. This book starts out with the words of the blessing of Enoch, wherewith he blessed the elect and righteous, who will be living in the day of tribulation, when all the wicked and godless are to be removed. This book was written for us during this time. This book was part of Scripture. It was taken out, from my understanding, it was taken out because it talked about Jesus too much. So that just tells you. So these would be my first things that would be so important to me. Other things, first aid kit. I have children. I know how often they can get hurt. I have a husband that does some things that I'm like shaking my head at. So a first aid kit. Washcloths. I grabbed 2, and here's why. If I'm fleeing, I'm going to want to wash my face, but I'm not going to want to wash my face with what I wash the rest of my body with. So 2 different rags, and the one thing I didn't grab was bags. Little baggies would be something else I would say to grab. Soap and a soap holder. Again, this soap I found at the Dollar Tree, not a sponsor, found at the Dollar Tree. So you have something to wash with. Batteries are important for
2 items.
flashlight. Batteries and a flashlight. Mittens. Can I have the hat? A hat. You know, if you're cold, heat comes out of your head. This will keep you warm. An old pill bottle, I don't even know if I can get it open, with lighters inside. Several things happen with this. The lighters, if I drop it, if I'm having to throw my bag around or whatever, there's more protected in here and not going to get broke. It's keeping the water off of them even better. And if I've got little children, they're going to have a hard time getting into this. A bottle for water. A towel, an old towel. This can be used for so many things. If I need to, I can cut this up and use it for bandages. I can cut it up and use it for a splint. Ladies, guys, you may not want to hear this part, so you might want to tune out for a second. Ladies, if you have nothing else, there's a reason why it's called being on the rag. I know my grandmother told me she used to have to cut up rags for her monthly cycle. You can use this. If you're nursing, you don't have pads, you can cut this up and use it as your nursing pads. This can be used for so many things. A little sewing kit for any clothes that get a hole in them, if I need to sew up something. Another thing I didn't grab was an extra pair of clothes. I didn't think you guys would want to see my extra clothes, or especially underwear and bras. But this to sew clothes with. Zeets. I end up a lot of times without belt loops, so I like these little mitten clips. You can get them at Walmart, or some safety pins. Some zeets that are made, and extra thread to make more zeets. This I got it at the grocery store. It's not much. Quite honestly, I didn't even think about a pan to cook it in, so it's going to be kind of hard to eat. But some sort of snack, maybe granola bars, maybe apples if you actually have time to grab apples as well. Just something, because you know that you're not going to have food for a while, and God's going to have to provide it. Toothbrush. This isn't necessary, but I like my teeth being clean. I grabbed, this is a splurge for me, a photo album that would fit, so I could put my girls' baby pictures in here and maybe a couple of wedding pictures in here. Because when we leave, there's no guarantee you will ever get back to your house. And this is something that is important to me. It's just kind of a splurge. This is a wet dry bag. Again, I told you that you could use pads out of this, but there's cloth pads you can buy or you can make. And this would be great for dirty diapers, you know, cloth diapers again. You can put those in here. You can put your pads from when you're administrating, your nursing pads, all can go in here. This bag has a lining inside of it. You see it, so that it can have wet stuff in it. And so then you can have it in there until you're able to stop and wash it. This I found at Target for $1, and it was just a little dog bowl for water. So I could give my dog a little snack or water. Again, my dog can drink out of a creek or whatever, but if I'm not near a creek, I can dump a little bit in. Hairbrush. And us girls are going to want ponytail holders to put our hair up, to braid our hair. Hairbrush and ponytail holders. Thick socks. These are the thickest socks I could find in my drawer, and I grabbed them. When you're having to be on your feet a lot, you're going to want good socks and tennis shoes. So if you have an extra pair of tennis shoes, I would say grab that too. And another splurge, I love chapstick. I'm always putting chapstick on, so I grabbed a tube of chapstick. So, Mike's turn. This was my little...
That's her haul for 5 minutes. And so...
Oh,
go ahead.
Can I say something else?
Yes, go ahead.
Things that I was thinking of that I didn't grab that I think are a good idea. I said extra clothes and tennis shoes. If you have a small child, some sort of little stuffed animal, just to bring them more comfort, something that they can hold on to, because it's going to be hard and scary. If you have a child that still is nursing, or a baby that you can't nurse, you're going to want formula for those that aren't nursing, but the baby still needs something. You're going to need formula. And maps. A map of the area you live in.
I actually grabbed one, but
good
it wasn't
job.
for an area that I live in. So I grabbed a couple things. She thinks differently than I do, but neither one of us are wrong. So here's the couple things that I found. First of all, I'm probably going to end this section of the video with a story about needing some twine, some string, some rope. I needed something, and I didn't have it. So first thing I grabbed was weed eater twine. This stuff is cheap. I had it in the garage, and it is really strong. It's super strong. It's not, something I would want to rappel with or climb a hill or whatever. I don't want to do that, but at least it could tie some things down. It could help me make a tent. It could be a lot of things. It could maybe even sew my pants temporarily if I need to. There's a lot of stuff you can do with some rope. Any kind of rope is great. The next thing I grabbed was, and I think this is an investment that everybody should have, a good quality multi-tool. Okay? This one's Gerber. It's not a sponsor. They're very durable. This one I've had since 1990 something. It's been in my patrol bag. It's been in my fishing tackle box. It's been in my car. It has been everywhere. and looks like it just pulled it out of the box. It's over 20 years old, guys, and it just keeps on going. Important. I can't even tell you how many things I fixed that were broken with this. I have no idea. I also found, sitting on my garage floor, a pair of scissors, you know. You never know. Again, you may need to cut something. You may need to, who knows? You can do a lot of stuff with a pair of scissors. Haircuts. I don't know why you want to do a haircut, but you could. Another thing that I found was an old map for, we don't live in Arizona, but an old map for Arizona. A lot of things you can do with just a map. One, obviously find your way. Two, maps are great, or not just maps, but paper is a very good insulator. So if you're out there and you're cold and you don't have a coat, you don't have something, you could take this, fold it out, slide it up inside your shirt, and it's going to help you keep some heat in. Okay? It's not a fix-all, but it helps. Okay? You could also use this to light a fire with. You could give it to somebody who, you know, if you have extras, you could do all kinds of things with a map. Okay? Again, starting a fire, we'll get to that in a minute. Lots of things you can do with a map. Lighter, I found this in one of our junk drawers. Lighters can do a lot of things for you. You can start a fire to keep yourself warm. You can start a fire to cook your food. You can start that same fire to boil water that needs to be boiled so you can drink it, which kills all the bacteria and stuff. And we can talk about that later in another episode for water treatment and survival water and all kinds of things. But fire, I'm telling you, it's one of the most important things that...
As a pickle for when you're in a pickle.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just had to say it.
I didn't know that. I just grabbed it. It was in there. Again, fire, sticking on fire for a minute. I found this, it's halfway broken or something, I don't know. It's a candle with a wick. If I have to start a fire for some reason and everything is wet, if it's super wet, I'm going to light this candle because I know it's going to light, and I can hopefully dry out enough to get my campfire started. Okay? That's going to last for hopefully at least an hour or whatever, and used multiple times. We had a pack of coffee filters. You can do a lot of things with filters, coffee filters. Again, starting a fire. I guess my brain was on fire today, I guess. Not literally. But that's what I had in my mind when I grabbed a pack of coffee filters. Super cheap. They can do everything from filtering water to get out sand and gunk and stuff before you boil it. Also, starting fire. You can also do other things with this. With coffee filters, if you don't have, she has plenty of rice, but she has no way to boil it. I could put 4 or 5 of these things together and cook it in something, or at least soak it, and maybe get something to eat. It doesn't have to be just this. You can also use it as a bowl as you're going along picking berries. It could be, all kinds of things. Limitless items. I didn't pick up any food. I should have. I wasn't hungry, I guess. But I picked up a can opener. It was just some old junky 1960s can opener, I guess. It looked interesting to me. I found it in my toolbox, and I can open up cans of food if I run across one. I guess I could use it as an instrument. It can open bottles. You can do lots of things with it. Almost looks like a carabiner. Again, I picked up another yard of twine, another spool of twine, and this is nylon twine. This is super duper strong. I actually took this on a camping trip, and it's pretty strong. Multiple strands of this held up a tarp over my hammock when I was on a camping trip. It's pretty strong stuff. It actually cut my hands how strong it is. It didn't break. I found a bottle of water. If I gotta get out of here right now, one bottle of water isn't going to get me too far, but it's going to get me further than where I would be without one. So I also grabbed a tree saw, foldable tree saw. These things are awesome to have. If you're out, you can make yourself a shelter I mean, that's a whole different skill and a whole different video. But I have learned and taught myself how to make temporary shelters out of the things that are around. It's called bushcraft. The things that are around, trees, debris. You can also cut firewood with one of these things. This is just an old junky one that I had in the garage, but if I had to go, it would work for a while. Again, this would be something that I wouldn't skimp on if I was going to put together an actual bag for long term. We may talk about that, but I have one that I really like. It didn't cost very much, but it's a very durable tool. So, and then again, kind of like the Gerber, I have the multi-tool of multi-tools. This is my favorite. It's my most recent purchase. And this is a Japanese hori-hori. And most people probably have no idea, unless you're a gardener, what this is. But this thing will do pretty much whatever you ask it to do. Okay? So it comes in a junky sheath. I'm going to get another one made, because they spent most of the time and most of the money on the knife itself. It has graduated measurements, and this one's still dirty because I just used it the other day. But again, this was 5 minutes. I just grabbed what I thought I could use in case I needed to run out. But it's got measurements on it. It's got a very sharp edge on it on this side, and again, a very sharp edge here. This is a serrated side, but it's also concave, if you can see here. So I can dig with it. I can cut a fish with it. I can cut rope with it. I can do all kinds of stuff, and I can even dig. I'll show you sometime later in the fire section how to make a fire pit out of digging into the ground. So that's going to come into play later. And the last thing I grabbed is I just reached into a cabinet and I found this big thing of plastic. This is pretty thin plastic, but it would, in an emergency, if I gotta go and just jamming it in a bag, that can do a lot of things. I can carry water with it. I can, again, insulate myself. If it's rainy and cold, I can put that in my shirt, in my pants. You know, I can wrap myself in it to try and stay warm. I can make a shelter with it, with the twine, and all this stuff kind of goes together. And I'm going to tell you a story here in just a moment where something like this actually came into play, and I believe saved my life.
I just wanted to say, I did not get the 5-minute memo. I actually thought about this for a day of what I would put in there. So I thought a little bit longer, not a lot of thought into it, but I thought for more than 5 minutes. So just...
Welcome back to the final segment of Tribulation Ready Survival. I'm Michael again. And so I wanted to share a story with you, a true story that happened to me just a couple of weeks ago. And I believe it to be a true survival story. In fact, it's practicing what I preach. Okay, I've never found myself to be a really good evangelical preacher type of person, but if I have some information or God tells me something, I'm going to put it out there. So here's the deal. I practice survival as much as I can, as much as I'm able to. And my best friend and I went on a kayak fishing trip a couple of weeks ago, and it was a minimalist type trip that we were going on. We went with kayaks up a river, across the lake and up a river, and we took basically what would fit in a backpack and some fishing poles, fishing equipment. I took 2 gallons of water, and it was supposed to be a 2-night, 3-day thing, and we stayed there for 2 days. Trying to cut a long story as short as possible, we knew that there was a possibility, a very small possibility, of thunderstorms on the second day. He didn't have, his battery on his phone was dead. Mine was not dead, but I couldn't get a signal. And we had kind of watched the skies. Around here in Kansas, we know that the weather changes if you wait 5 minutes. And so we kind of kept an eye on this guy for a while, and I was able to, about 2 o'clock, maybe 3 o'clock in the afternoon, get a very slight signal. And it took me almost an hour to download a weather map or weather radar about the storms that were coming. And they were about an hour or so away, not very long. And we decided whether we were thinking about whether we should stay or whether we should go. And where we were at was it was a great place to camp, but probably not a place to be in a storm. So we took about 5 minutes and threw those kayaks in the water and headed back to the vehicle. We had traveled probably 6 miles from the vehicle up a very large, fast-flowing river. And by the time we got out of the river and entered into where it goes into the lake that we had to cross, the waves were very high. There was white caps on them, and they were coming up over my kayak. I was sinking. My kayak was probably 3 to 6 inches underwater, and the storm was rolling in behind us, about 30 to 45 minutes behind us. We were trying to get back, and we realized as we kind of where the river meets the lake that it wasn't going to be possible. So we had to decide what we were going to do, and we saw a fairly decent piece of land that we could put our kayaks up on. So we went up there, dumped out the water out of the kayaks, and tied them to a giant dead tree. We actually kind of went up a hill and found a little spot underneath a large oak tree that we thought would be the best place to go. I think God led us there because I don't think there was a better spot we could have gone to. It didn't keep us dry, but it did block some of the wind. And so all we had for shelter, since we were camping in our hammocks, was 2 tarps, his tarp and my tarp. So the training that I've had, the things that I've learned, I finally got to put to use. So not that I was hoping, but we did it. So we laid his tarp down on the side of this kind of an incline underneath this oak tree, and took a bunch of sticks, made stakes out of them real quick, and pounded them in the ground so we'd hold his tarp on the ground. And then we took my tarp, which was larger, and we took our bags, put them underneath the tarp, and we rolled the tarp up underneath our bodies on the sides, as well as our feet and our heads. And so it was kind of a bubble, if you will, and he and I were hiding out underneath this tarp as this line of thunderstorms rolled in. That was about 7-ish at night. We saw it coming in. The sky was green, the sky was orange, and that's a really bad sign. Again, we had nowhere to go, and this is what we have. We had what we knew, and we had some tarps. And so there we were, riding this line of storms out. We ended up riding these storms out with very heavy, cold rain. As I said, it was 102 that day, and it was probably somewhere during the storm, it probably got to about 65 degrees-ish, somewhere in there. Very large, cold rainstorms. And in fact, the rain was, we did the best we could. The rain was still able to seep up underneath the tarps and then into where we were. We were soaked from the lake in the first place. The water and the waves and everything. And so I had left my life vest on, thinking it was going to help keep some heat in, which it did. It wasn't enough. So I lay there, he laid there underneath this tarp and trying to stay down as low as we could. I prayed for hours. I prayed in my head. I even prayed out loud. And I believe God answered my prayers, because there were a couple things here I'm going to tell you that happened, and it's crazy, but it's true. And so during each one of these storms that was coming through, we had maybe 5 minutes we could kind of reset things up and get the tarp straightened out. And the wind and the waves were crazy, so there's no way we were going to get out at that point. But so it was probably 10 or 11 o'clock at night, and I was freezing. It was cold. We were wet. The ground was just sucking the heat right out of us. And I remembered that I had an emergency blanket in my backpack. I had thrown it in there. I don't usually, but for whatever reason, I decided I was going to do that. So I threw it in there, and I wrapped myself in this shiny plastic emergency blanket, and it helped a lot. It didn't dry me out or anything, but it kept a lot of my body heat in. So I would recommend, no matter what you do, where you go, throw some in the car. They're cheap. Good idea to have one of those. So anyway, during the course of all of this, hiding under this tarp, I had a moth. I didn't know it was a moth. I had something fly in my right ear, and it would not come out. It was in there. We tried everything. I'm not going to go into how we tried, but pliers, that's what we had. Did not come out. We did not get that insect out until about 4 o'clock the following day. So anyways, during this whole mess, he had fallen asleep, and I had fallen asleep. I don't know how I fell asleep with all the wind and the rain. It was so loud. But I fell asleep. And I believe I was praying when I fell asleep. But like I said, I prayed most of the time that we were stuck there. And I woke up somewhere around 2 o'clock in the morning. It was like that fast. And I heard, "Get up. You gotta go. It's time to go." And I sat up, and it was quiet. And I nudged my friend. I said, hey, it's time to go. That was God telling me, it's time to go. I have been praying for discernment, praying for me to be able to hear God. And I don't necessarily have like an open line connection with God, as far as I don't hear everything He says. But sometimes that just gets through, and God woke me up and said, "It's time to go, buddy." And so what we did, we packed up our tarps real quick. We went down and checked the kayaks. They were still there. We dumped the water out. The only lights we had were headlamps, and they probably go 10 or 15 feet, both of us. We kayaked probably 2 to 3 miles across this lake. And the water had calmed down quite a bit, and the wind had calmed down quite a bit, but we couldn't see where we were going. The only light we had was in the distance where the storm had passed through. You could still see flashes of lightning, and we were able to go almost directly to the boat dock. God was guiding us along that journey. He was there the whole time. There was absolutely no doubt about it. So when I say that I want you guys to learn from this channel. I want you to learn that, or to know that I'm not a survival expert, but I've read a lot of things. I've practiced a lot of these things, and I'm going to continue to learn along with you guys. And hopefully, if you get into a bug out situation, or you have to flee for whatever reason, the bags that you're going to put together, the knowledge you're going to hopefully get, will in combination be enough to get you to a place of safety. I surely, truly believe that God's going to lead us there. It's one of those things you just have to wait for him to tell you it's time to go. So I thank you for your time. I want you to know we're going to come back with another couple episodes very shortly. We have more gear and bug out stuff or bag stuff. And we're going to put this together and we're going to have a lot of fun. So please like and subscribe down here. And I also want you to know I like to hear your comments. We're trying not to keep it negative. If I miss something or you have a question, I will be happy to find out. My wife will be happy to find out. And come back. We'll see you next time.